Over to Tel Aviv. Thanks, Dorsa, for that reporting from Tehran. Hamda Salhoud joining us from Tel Aviv. Hamda, what are you hearing on your end?
Samir, hi. There is active interceptions happening here in the skies over Tel Aviv. There are sirens ringing all over Israel. There are projectiles flying in the sky, but it is a little bit difficult to point out what it is. There are explosions happening right there up. Our cameraman is getting those shots for you, but there are sirens blaring all over Israel, and it looks like there is air defense that is also coming from the opposite direction as well. Where we're standing, we have not yet heard any sirens just yet, but there are flashing lights, as you can see, active interceptions right now, projectiles here falling from the sky behind these clouds. And quite an active situation. There have been a lot of updates from Israeli Home Front Command. It's calling on people to go to shelters in specific areas, but there are still a lot of other interceptors that are flying from what looks like the southern part of Tel Aviv here and behind this cloud, which is a little bit difficult to see. But again, these are more interceptors that are coming up and that are being intercepted in the skies right now actively. Sirens blaring out in Tel Aviv in several different locations and additionally all over the country. This is an active situation here. The Israeli army was warning of something like this happening, and in fact, we're preparing for it for several days, if not weeks. They said that they have new capabilities for not only air defense, but also for some sort of retaliation as well. There is a lot that is falling from the sky at this point in time. We are from a high view, are on a roof kind of lookout, and a lot of these types of projectiles that we saw came from many different areas. Some of them came from the Mediterranean above our heads to behind us, and we can hear some explosions in the distance here. But again, it is hard to tell if these are the drones themselves, if these are other types of projectiles that were launched. But again, the Israeli military is actively intercepting projectiles all over Israel, not just in Tel Aviv, and there are areas all over the country. In fact, specifically in the south near Dimona, where there is a nuclear plant that the Israeli Home Front Command has told people to remain in sheltered and safe areas, meaning bomb shelters, until further notice. But where we are specifically, again, these sirens have not rung, but there are red alerts all over the state of Israel at this time, and these interceptors that are being launched by the Israeli military, again, are threefold. We have the Iron Dome missile defense system, which is the most commonly used in Israel. Then secondly, we have the David Sling, which is for medium to longer range projectiles. And then finally, the Arrow for longer projectiles, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and drones. The Israelis have confirmed that at least 100 drones were fired by the Iranians from Iranian territory towards Israel, but it's not really known if all of them have reached, as these sirens are now still blaring all over Israel at local time 1:47. Darine.
Hamda, I'll keep you with me for now. If you need to go at any point, you let me know. And I know that this is sort of a developing story and you're just trying to gather as much information as you can. But from what you see, is it possible to say where they're being launched from and which areas?
Well, the Israeli interceptors are being launched from military positions. There are Iron Dome batteries and other defense systems that are stationed all over the countries. But we did see some coming off the Mediterranean, coming towards the sea to behind us, which is quite interesting. And these projectiles still in the sky here, as you can see. And there is active air defense happening all over the country there. You could see that was a live interception in the sky radiating, and a lot of this shrapnel is now going to rain down into the areas where they were intercepted. It's quite looks like it's in the distance, but it is quite above us. And the Israeli military, again, did give out guidelines for what to do in situations like this. Though there haven't been sirens in this part of Tel Aviv, you can still see the activity in the sky, and it is quite active. The interceptors are coming from different Israeli military bases. And again, the Iron Dome is stationed in many different locations across the country. But there are also other air defenses that are near other airfields for this type of reason specifically. And the Israeli army said that they would deploy those resources when it came to a situation like this. The Israeli army has never been faced with this type of weaponry that has entered its airspace, and as a result, they have closed their airspace. They have landed all civilian flights. The airspace is completely closed. There was roars of Israeli fighter jets in the air earlier in the evening, and it's part of this multi-layered defense mechanism that they're talking about in order to shoot down these drones and potentially these ballistic, perhaps cruise missiles that are also coming towards Israeli airspace.
Hamda, we're also hearing, and this is according to the AP news agency, and I believe that you were saying this a moment ago as well. So air raid sirens are sounded in Jerusalem as explosions are heard in the skies above. And we're looking at the live picture right now from West Jerusalem. You're speaking to us, though, from Tel Aviv. Talk us through what sort of preparations were being made by the Israeli military in anticipation of an Iranian attack. And do you think that this is what they expected?
Well, the Israelis said that they were prepared for a wide variety of scenarios, and in fact, they were ready for anything that could happen. And just this evening, Home Front Command, that is an extension of the Israeli military, had issued an abundance of new guidelines. In fact, there was a protest going on in Tel Aviv in the evening that the police had shut down because of 11 o'clock this evening. They said that there would be no gatherings of more than 1,000 people. Schools were closed. Different work sectors were closed as well for the next 2 days in anticipation for this attack that they said was imminent. And the Israelis were expecting a response, and that's because of their airstrikes on the Iranian consulate in Damascus on April 1st. They knew they were anticipating this kind of response. Perhaps they didn't know the size and the scale and the type of weaponry that would be used, but nonetheless, a response and a retaliation from the Iranians was promised. The Israelis say that they are partnering with regional allies and additionally the United States and the United Kingdom. In fact, the Israeli army is reporting that several drones were already shot down before they had reached Israeli airspace. You're looking here at more active interceptions that are happening in the sky, and what's falling here is the shrapnel that will land in different areas. Now, where that is happening over, sirens are also ringing. And when that happens, Israeli authorities say for people to go into these protected areas for a minimum of 10 minutes unless told otherwise. They usually get these types of alerts on their phones. But again, all of the GPS and phone type systems are disrupted at this point. But you can just see it in the sky that this is clearly an active situation that the Israeli military is still saying could take hours. They were anticipating these types of drones coming in anywhere, reports indicated from 2 to 10 hours. So it still looks like it's going to be a long night ahead, as the Israelis say they have defense mechanisms that are stockpiled, they are ready to go, and they are prepared for any type of scenario.
Okay, Hamda, we'll let you go for now. Thank you. We'll bring in Rory Challens from occupied East Jerusalem. And Rory, can you confirm, just tell us what's happening there, because we're hearing air raid sirens go off in Jerusalem and explosions above the skies. What do you see and hear?
Yeah, exactly that. For the last 10 minutes or so, we've been looking out from the balcony here across the Jerusalem skyline, and we've seen a